The stars looked different from space. Captain Park had seen them 1,000 times through the windows of military ships, but today they seemed brighter. Today was special. Today, humanity would officially join the Galactic Coalition, a group of 7 intelligent species who had traveled the stars for thousands of years. The space station called Unity Bridge floated in the darkness like a giant silver flower. Ships from different worlds surrounded it, each one stranger than the last. Some looked like crystals. Others looked like living creatures with metal skin. The human ship, the Soul's Pride, was simple and gray compared to these wonders. Stood at the main viewing window, his hands behind his back. He was 42 years old, with short black hair turning gray at the sides and a face that had seen too many battles. He had spent 20 years in the military before becoming a diplomat. Some people thought soldiers could not be peaceful, wanted to prove them wrong. Nervous? Asked a voice behind him. He turned to see Dr. Lee walking toward him. She was younger than him, maybe 35, with long hair tied back and glasses that made her look like a university professor, which she was, actually. She studied alien life forms and had written 3 books about how different species might communicate. Not nervous, said. Excited. This is what humanity has been waiting for since we first looked up at the stars. Smiled and stood beside him. The coalition species are fascinating. Did you know they communicate through color changes in their skin? And the prism beings are basically living crystals. They think in mathematics. As long as they think in peace, I am happy, replied. Their security team waited nearby. 6 soldiers in light armor led by Sergeant. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and quick hands, had worked with her for 5 years. She never smiled, never joked, but she was the best soldier he had ever known. The shuttle took them from their ship to the station. Inside Unity Bridge, the air smelled strange, like flowers mixed with metal. The hallways were wide enough for all kinds of bodies, from the tiny insect-like to the massive 4-armed. A being made of light and crystal floated toward them. Its body shifted through colors of blue and purple as it moved. Welcome humans, it said in a voice like singing glass. I am Prism of Dawn, ambassador of the Coalition. We are honored to receive you. Bowed his head respectfully. The honor is ours. Humanity has dreamed of this moment for centuries. They walked through the station, passing beings that looked like nothing on Earth. A creature with 8 legs and fur like silver grass. A floating sphere with dozens of tiny eyes. 2 tall beings with skin like tree bark, holding hands with their branch-like fingers. The ceremony hall was enormous, with a ceiling that showed the stars outside. Representatives from all 7 coalition species sat in a circle, their different bodies requiring different kinds of chairs. Some floated. Some hung from the ceiling. The humans were given simple seats near the center. Speeches began. Each species welcomed humanity in their own way. The clicked and buzzed. The changed colors in beautiful patterns. Prism of Dawn sang words that made cry, though she could not explain why. Felt hope growing in his chest. Maybe the universe was not as dangerous as humans had always feared. Maybe there was room for everyone among the stars. Then the lights went out. For 3 heartbeats, there was only darkness. Then red emergency lights filled the room, turning every face into a mask of shadows and fear. An explosion shook the station. The floor tilted. Several alien delegates screamed in their own languages, sounds that meant terror in any tongue. Sergeant was already moving. Her hand went to her weapon as she stepped in front of it. Her 5 soldiers formed a protective circle around the human delegation. What is happening? Prism of Dawn's colors flashed with confusion. Another explosion answered. Then a voice, cold and sharp, filled the room through the station's speakers. Attention, Coalition filth. This station now belongs to the Supremacy. We do not recognize the humans as worthy of galactic citizenship. They are animals, nothing more. Surrender them to us for cleansing, and the rest of you will live. felt his stomach drop. He had heard of the Supremacy, a terrorist group that believed only certain species deserved to exist. They had been quiet for years. Everyone thought they were finished. They were wrong. Plasma fire lit up the hallway outside. Could see soldiers through the door, their forearms holding weapons, their gray skin marked with red tattoos. They moved like hunters, checking corners, shooting anyone who ran. The coalition delegates began to panic. The skin flashed white with fear. The tree beings huddled together, their wooden bodies shaking. Even Prism of Dawn's light grew dim and uncertain. "We must surrender the humans," one delegate said, a slug-like creature with wobbling flesh. "It is the logical choice. 6 humans or hundreds of us. The mathematics is clear." "Agreed," said another. "The fight is already over. We cannot win against armed soldiers. Resistance is pointless." Watched the alien faces around him. He saw fear, yes, but also something else. Acceptance. They truly believed there was nothing to be done. In their minds, the moment weapons appeared, the battle was already decided. She looked back at him, her eyes steady behind her glasses. Then he looked at Sergeant. The small woman had not moved. Her weapon was in her hands, her finger near the trigger. Her breathing was slow and controlled. She was not panicking. She was waiting. "Sergeant," said quietly, "defense positions." "Nodded once. You heard the captain, formation Delta, nobody gets through." The 6 human soldiers spread out, finding cover behind pillars and fallen chairs. They moved without speaking, each one knowing exactly where to go. Prism of Dawn floated closer to. "What are you doing? You cannot fight them. You are wounded already from the first explosion. You have only 6 soldiers, they have 50, maybe more. This fight is over." Smiled. It was a strange smile, the kind that did not match the situation at all. "Where we come from," he said, "the fight is only over when we decide it is over." The first soldier came through the door. Sergeant shot him before he took 2 steps. The alien delegates watched in shock as the humans opened fire, their small weapons making loud sounds that echoed through the hall. They had expected surrender. They had expected fear. They had not expected this. And in the bodies of every human in that room, something ancient and powerful was waking up. Their hearts beat faster. Their pupils grew wide. Their muscles filled with blood and oxygen and the memory of 1,000,000 years of survival. Adrenaline. The galaxy was about to learn what that word meant. The sounds of battle filled the ceremony hall. Plasma fire crackled through the air, leaving trails of burning light. Metal screamed as bullets tore through armor. The alien delegates huddled behind whatever cover they could find, their bodies shaking with fear. Dr. Lee pressed her back against a fallen table, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. She was not a soldier. She had never held a weapon in her life. Her job was to study aliens, to understand them, to help humanity communicate with them. But right now, she realized, her job was something else entirely. Prism of Dawn floated beside her, its crystal body flickering with unstable colors. The ambassador was terrified, could see it in the way its light kept breaking into pieces, like a mirror about to shatter. "This is madness," Prism of Dawn whispered. "Your soldiers are going to die. Why do they not surrender? Do they not understand what is happening?" Looked across the room. She could see Sergeant behind a pillar, firing her weapon with calm, mechanical precision. Each shot was perfect. Each movement was smooth. There was no wasted energy, no panic, no hesitation. "They understand perfectly," said. "That is why they are fighting." "But the mathematics." "Forget mathematics." Grabbed the ambassador's crystalline arm, feeling the strange, cold smoothness of its body. "Listen to me. What you are seeing right now is not normal behavior, not by galactic standards. You need to understand what is happening inside their bodies." Prism of Dawn's colors shifted to a confused blue. Inside their bodies. Your species evolved on a peaceful world, yes. Gentle climate, few predators, resources were easy to find. Yes, the crystal plains of our have been calm for millions of years. Earth was not calm, ducked as a plasma bolt flew over her head. When she spoke again, her voice was steady, almost like she was giving a lecture. Earth was a death world. Do you know what that means? Prism of Dawn's light flickered. I have heard the term, worlds where survival is difficult. Difficult is too weak a word. On Earth, everything wanted to kill us. The weather could freeze us or burn us. The water could drown us or poison us. The animals were stronger, faster, and had better weapons than we did. We had no claws, no fangs, no armor, no venom. We were soft and slow and weak. Another explosion shook the room, did not stop talking. So we evolved something else. When danger comes, when death is close, our bodies release a chemical called adrenaline. It floods our blood in less than a second, and when it does, we change. She pointed at Private, a young woman who was reloading her weapon behind a broken column. Blood was running down her arm from a wound on her shoulder. The injury looked serious, the kind that should make a person scream and fall down. Did not seem to notice it at all. Adrenaline blocks pain, explained. Not reduces it, blocks it completely. Right now that soldier cannot feel her wound. Her brain has decided that pain is not important. Survival is important. Fighting is important. Pain can wait. Prism of Dawn watched stand up and fire 3 shots at a soldier, her injured arm steady as stone. The alien's crystal body pulsed with disbelief. That is not possible. Pain is a warning system. It tells the body to stop to protect itself. On your world, yes. On Earth, stopping meant death. Our ancestors who felt pain and stopped were eaten. Our ancestors who ignored pain and kept fighting survived long enough to have children. After 1,000,000 years of this, we became something different. Grabbed a medical kit from her bag and started crawling toward the wounded soldier. She kept talking as she moved. Adrenaline does not just block pain, it makes us stronger. Our muscles can perform at levels that would normally damage them because our bodies decide that damage tomorrow is better than death today. Our hearts beat faster, pushing more blood to our muscles and brain. Our vision becomes sharper. Our reactions become faster. Time itself seems to slow down. She reached and began wrapping her shoulder. The young soldier barely looked at her, her eyes fixed on the enemy. "Thanks, doctor," said. Her voice was calm, almost bored. "I will feel that later, I think." "You will," agreed, "but not now." She crawled back to Prism of Dawn, who was watching the battle with new eyes. "There is more," said. "Adrenaline affects our minds too. Fear becomes anger. Hesitation becomes focus. We stop thinking about all the reasons we might fail. We only think about how to win." A soldier broke through the defensive line and charged toward the alien delegates. He was huge, his 4 arms swinging weapons, his mouth open in a war cry. Corporal stepped into his path. Was out of ammunition. His weapon was empty, useless as a stick. There was twice his size, armed and armored. Did not hesitate. He did not surrender. He ran directly at the soldier and swung his empty rifle like a club. They expected the human to stop, to beg, to fall to his knees and accept death. That was what happened in civilized warfare. When you were outmatched, you submitted. Did not know about civilized warfare. His body only knew one thing: survive. The rifle hit his head with a crack that echoed through the hall. The alien stumbled, hit him again, and again, and again. Each blow was fueled by chemicals that his ancestors had been making for 10,000,000 years. The fell, he did not get up. Picked up the alien's weapon and kept fighting. Prism of Dawn made a sound that might have been a gasp. He should be dead. That alien was stronger, better armed. How did he win? Watched disappear back into the battle, his face blank, his movements smooth. "Because on Earth," she said quietly, "we learned that the fight is never really about strength or weapons. It is about who wants to live more. It is about who refuses to die. She looked around the room at the other human soldiers, was bleeding from her head but still giving orders. Private Han was loading magazines with bloody fingers, missing 2 of them on his left hand. Captain Park had a piece of metal in his leg but was standing, directing fire, his voice calm and steady. Every single one of them was hurt. Every single one of them should have stopped, should have surrendered, should have accepted that the fight was over. None of them did. "We call it the fight or flight response," said, "but that name is wrong. For humans there is no flight. There is only fight. Our bodies give us everything we have, every drop of strength, every spark of energy, and they say, use this or die." Prism of Dawn's colors had settled into a strange new pattern, something had never seen before. It took her a moment to realize what it meant. The alien was afraid. Not of the humans. "What are you?" Prism of Dawn whispered. Looked at the battle raging around them. She looked at her people, her broken, bleeding, magnificent people, standing against impossible odds because their biology would not let them do anything else. "We are survivors," she said. "That is what Earth made us. That is what we will always be." Outside the ceremony hall, more soldiers were coming. The humans had won the first battle, but the war was just beginning. And the adrenaline was still flowing. Commander watched the battle through security cameras, and he did not understand what he was seeing. His soldiers were dying. Not slowly, not in the organized way that civilized warfare demanded, but quickly, messily, in ways that made no sense. The humans were supposed to surrender. They were outnumbered 5-1. They were trapped in a single room with no escape routes and no reinforcements coming. By every rule of combat that had ever learned, the fight should have ended in the first 5 minutes. It had been 40 minutes now. The humans were still fighting. "Send more soldiers," ordered. His forearms gripped the command console so hard that the metal bent under his fingers. "Commander," his lieutenant said carefully, "we have already sent 3 waves. We have lost 18 soldiers. The humans have lost none." "That is impossible." "I am watching it happen, Commander." Turn back to the screens. The camera showed the ceremony hall, now filled with smoke and debris and bodies. Most of the bodies wore armor. He focused on one human, a female soldier with short hair and blood on her face. She was crouched behind a pillar, her weapon raised. As he watched, she leaned out, fired twice, and ducked back. 2 of his soldiers fell. The movement was smooth, perfect, like she had done it 1,000 times. She probably had realized. Humans lived on a death world. They trained for combat the way other species trained for art or science. War was in their blood. But that still did not explain what he was seeing. On the other side of the room, the young female soldier was still fighting. The one who had been shot in the shoulder an hour ago had seen the wound himself. It should have disabled her completely. Plasma burns destroyed muscle tissue, damaged nerves, caused pain that could knock her unconscious. The human did not seem to care. She was using her injured arm to hold her weapon steady. Her face showed no pain. Her movements showed no weakness. How was that possible? The camera shifted to show the human leader, the one called Captain Park. He had been hit by debris from the first explosion. There was still a piece of metal sticking out of his leg. He should be on the ground, screaming for medical help, or at least sitting still and applying pressure to the wound. Instead, he was walking, limping badly, yes, but walking, moving from soldier to soldier, checking their positions, giving orders. His voice on the audio feed was calm and steady. "Private Han, move to the left flank. Corporal, conserve ammunition, short bursts only. Sergeant, watch the ventilation shaft, they may try to come through there." The private he mentioned was missing fingers on his left hand. Could see the stumps wrapped in bloody cloth. The human was loading a magazine, using his thumb and 3 remaining fingers, working slowly but steadily. He should be in shock. He should be crying. He should be dying. He was reloading ammunition. "What are these creatures?" whispered. The coalition delegates were still in the room, huddled in the far corner. Had originally planned to kill them too, eventually, but right now they were not important. The crystal being, the prism ambassador, was flickering with colors that suggested extreme distress. The other aliens were frozen, their bodies locked in whatever their species did when terror became too much. They were watching the humans fight. They were watching what was watching. And they were learning the same lesson. Another wave of soldiers entered the ceremony hall, 5 of them this time, heavily armed, moving in formation. They had been told about the previous failures. They were being careful. It did not matter. The sergeant emerged from behind her cover. She was out of ammunition for her primary weapon, so she was using a pistol now, a small thing that looked like a toy in her hands. She fired once, twice, 3 times. 3 soldiers dropped. The 4th soldier raised his weapon to shoot her. His finger was on the trigger. The plasma bolt was about to fire. Then Private appeared behind him, the young woman with the shoulder wound. She had crossed half the room without anyone noticing, moving through smoke and shadows like a ghost. She did not shoot him. She was probably out of ammunition too. Instead, she jumped on his back and wrapped her arms around his neck. Watched in horror as a human female, half the size of a warrior, choked the life out of his soldier using nothing but her body. The struggled, his 4 arms reaching back, trying to grab her, but she held on. Her wounded arm must have been screaming with pain. Her face showed nothing. After 20 seconds, the stopped moving. Let go, picked up his weapon, and shot the 5th soldier who was still staring at her in disbelief. Then she went back to her position and crouched down, as if nothing unusual had happened. Felt something cold crawling up his spine. He had commanded soldiers for 30 years. He had fought in 4 wars. He had seen courage and fear and everything in between. He had never seen anything like this. "Commander," his lieutenant said, "what do we do?" Did not answer immediately. He was thinking about all the stories he had heard about Earth, the death world, the planet where nothing was safe, where every creature was a killer, where life itself was a constant war against extinction. He had thought those stories were exaggerations. Every species liked to make themselves sound impressive. The humans were probably no different from anyone else, just with better storytelling. He was wrong. The humans were exactly what the stories said, maybe worse. "Commander," the lieutenant's voice was uncertain now, afraid. Made his decision. These humans could not be defeated with normal tactics. They did not surrender. They did not retreat. They did not accept that the fight was over, no matter what the numbers said. So he would have to end them differently. "Bring the elite guard," he ordered, "all of them." "Sir, the elite guard is reserved for." "I know what they are reserved for. Bring them now." The lieutenant hurried away, turned back to the screens. The humans were still fighting, still bleeding, still refusing to die. Captain Park was leaning against a pillar now, his leg wound obviously getting worse. He should have collapsed by now. His body should have shut down from blood loss and shock and exhaustion. Instead, he was smiling. It was the smile of a predator, the smile of a creature that knew it was dangerous, the smile of an animal that had been hunting and killing since before the first crawled out of the ocean. Felt a cold fear settle into his bones. He was starting to understand something terrible. This was not a battle, not really. The humans were not defending themselves. They were not trying to survive. They were hunting. And he had just sent more prey into their trap. The elite guard was coming. 12 of the best soldiers the Supremacy had ever produced. They had never lost a battle. They had never failed a mission. But they had never fought humans before. They had never felt what adrenaline could do. Watched the security screens and prayed to gods he did not believe in. The fight was not over. He understood that now. The fight had barely begun. 2 hours into the battle, Captain Park finally fell. His leg gave out first. The metal shard had been in there too long, cutting deeper with every movement, and even adrenaline could not keep him standing forever. He dropped to one knee behind a burned pillar, his breath coming in short gasps. Sergeant was at his side in seconds. "Captain, you need to stop moving. The wound is—" "I know what the wound is." Park's voice was tight with pain he could no longer fully ignore. "Status report." Did not hesitate. "Private Han is down to his last magazine. Corporal has a broken rib, maybe 2. Private's shoulder is getting worse. She is still fighting, but her accuracy is dropping. Private Song took a plasma graze to the face. He cannot see from his left eye." "And you?" Touched the side of her head, where blood had dried into a dark crust. "I set my arm against the wall. It is broken in 2 places, but I can still shoot." Park looked at her. The small woman's face was pale and hollow, her eyes too bright, her body running on nothing but willpower and chemicals. She should have been in a hospital bed. They all should have. "How long can we keep fighting?" Considered the question seriously. "Maybe 30 more minutes at full combat effectiveness. After that, the adrenaline will start to fade. We will feel everything we have been ignoring. It will not be pretty. Then we need to finish this in 30 minutes. "Sir," his voice dropped. "The commander is sending his elite guard. I counted 12 of them on the security feeds before they went dark. They are different from the regular soldiers. Better armor, better weapons, better training." Park nodded slowly. He had expected this. When normal tactics failed, commanders always sent their best. It was predictable. It was also an opportunity. "Then we give them a welcome they will never forget." He tried to stand, and his legs screamed at him, grabbed his arm and pulled him up. For a moment they stood together, 2 broken soldiers holding each other upright. "Sir," said quietly, "if this does not work—" "It will work. But if it does not, I want you to know it has been an honor." Park looked at her. He thought about all the battles they had fought together, all the times she had saved his life, all the times he had saved hers. In the military, you learned to trust people with your survival. Was not just his sergeant. She was family. "The honor is mine," he said. "Now let us show these aliens what humans are made of." The elite guard came through the main door like a wave of gray death. They were bigger than the regular soldiers, their 4 arms covered in armor that gleamed under the red emergency lights. Each one carried 2 weapons, one for each pair of hands. They moved in perfect formation, covering each other, checking corners, doing everything right. Park watched them from behind his pillar. His leg was shaking. His vision was starting to blur at the edges. He had maybe 10 minutes before his body began shutting down, and he needed to make every second count. "Formation Sigma," he said into his communicator. "Execute on my mark." Formation Sigma was not in any military handbook. It was something Park had invented years ago during a training exercise that had gone wrong. It was designed for situations exactly like this one, outnumbered, with nothing left to lose. It was also completely insane. "Mark!" The humans moved. Private Han rolled out from his cover, firing his last magazine directly at the center of the formation. His shots were not meant to kill. They were meant to distract. The elite guards turned toward him, weapons rising. While they were focused on Han, Corporal attacked from the left. He was using a weapon now, something heavy that kicked hard with every shot. His broken ribs screamed at him, but he did not care. The pain was there, somewhere far away, but it could not touch him yet. 2 elite guards fell. Private Song came from the right, moving fast despite his damaged eye. He had picked up a piece of debris at some point, a metal bar about 1 meter long. He did not shoot anyone. He just ran straight at the nearest guard and swung. The guard was not expecting close combat. Nobody expected close combat when they had guns, But Song did not have ammunition anymore. He had something better. He had rage. The metal bar hit the guard's helmet hard enough to crack it. The alien stumbled. Song hit him again, and again. By the time the guard's partner turned to help, Song was already moving to his next target. Private appeared from somewhere above. She had climbed the pillars somehow, using her one good arm, and now she dropped onto an elite guard's back like a falling stone. Her weight knocked him down. Her hands found the gap in his armor at the neck. She squeezed. The guard thrashed and struggled, his 4 arms reaching back but held on. Her shoulder was bleeding through her bandages. Her face was white with exhaustion, but her hands never loosened. Sergeant picked off guards from a distance, her broken arm braced against a pillar to keep it steady. Each shot was perfect. Each bullet found its target. And Captain Park limped through the chaos, directing his soldiers like a conductor leading an orchestra of violence. He had no weapon now. He had dropped it somewhere, but he did not need a weapon. He needed his people to believe. Private Hand, fall back and reload from the dead. Corporal, watch your 6. Song, good work, keep moving. Finish him and regroup. The elite guards were supposed to be unstoppable. They had trained for years. They had killed hundreds of enemies. They knew exactly what to do in combat. But they had never fought like this. They had never faced enemies who ignored pain, who treated death as an inconvenience, who kept fighting after wounds that should have been fatal. They had never fought humans. One by one, the elite guards fell. Some were shot. Some were beaten. Some were strangled by soldiers half their size. The battle was brutal and ugly and nothing like the clean warfare that civilized species practiced. It was human warfare, the kind that Earth had taught for millions of years, the kind where surrender was not an option, where retreat was just another way to die, where you fought until your heart stopped beating and maybe a little longer after that. When the last elite guard fell, the humans stood in silence. All 6 of them were still alive. Barely. Han was on his knees, gasping for breath, had collapsed against a wall, holding his ribs. Song was bleeding from a dozen small wounds, was sitting on the floor, her injured arm hanging useless at her side. Walked slowly to Park, her broken arm cradled against her chest. Her face was gray. The adrenaline was starting to fade and she could feel everything now, every cut, every bruise, every broken bone. "Sir," she said, "elite guard neutralized, we won." Park looked around the room. Bodies everywhere. Smoke and fire and the smell of burned flesh. The alien delegates were still huddled in the corner, staring at the humans with eyes full of something that might have been fear or wonder or both. "Not yet," Park said. "The commander is still alive. As long as he is breathing, this is not over." He turned toward the door where the elite guards had entered. Beyond it, somewhere in the station, Commander was watching, waiting, planning his next move. Park took a step forward. His leg buckled, caught him. "Sir, you cannot." "I can," Park said. "I have to." He looked at his soldiers. 6 broken, bleeding, exhausted humans who should have died hours ago. They looked back at him with eyes that held no surrender. "One more fight," he told them. "One more push, then we rest." Private laughed. It was a terrible sound, more cough than laugh, but it was real. "Captain," she said, "on Earth we have a saying, we can rest when we are dead." Park smiled. It hurt his face, but he smiled anyway. "Then let us make sure to die first." They moved toward the door, slow, limping, holding each other up. But still moving, still fighting, still refusing to accept that the battle was over. Because for humans, the battle was never over until they decided it was. And they had not decided yet. Commander stood alone in the command center, staring at security screens that showed nothing but static and death. His 4 hands were trembling. His soldiers were gone. His elite guard was gone. Everything he had built, everything he had believed in, was crumbling around him. And the humans were still coming. He could hear them now, limping through the corridors, their boots making uneven sounds on the metal floor. They were not moving fast. They were not moving quietly. They sounded like they were barely able to walk. But they were still coming. Had spent his entire life believing in one simple truth: the weak surrendered to the strong. It was the law of nature. It was how the universe worked. When you were beaten, you accepted it. When you were outmatched, you submitted. The humans did not seem to know this law. Or maybe they just did not care. The door to the command center opened slowly. Raised his weapon, ready to fight, ready to die if necessary. A commander did not surrender. He was not some soft coalition diplomat who would beg for mercy. Captain Park limped through the door first. The human looked terrible. His uniform was burned and torn. Blood covered half his face. One of his legs was wrapped in bloody bandages, and he was leaning on a piece of debris like a cane. His eyes were sunken, his skin was pale, and he looked like he should have been dead hours ago. But those eyes, those human eyes, they were not the eyes of a dying man. They were the eyes of a hunter, calm and steady and completely without fear. Behind him came the others, the small sergeant with the broken arm, the young female with the ruined shoulder, the soldier with the missing fingers, the one with the blind eye, the one with the broken ribs. 6 humans, all wounded, all exhausted, all barely standing. And all of them still ready to fight. Felt his weapon hand shake. He had commanded armies. He had conquered worlds. He had never been afraid of anything in his life. He was afraid now. "What are you?" The words came out before he could stop them. Park stopped walking. He was maybe 10 meters from, close enough that either of them could shoot the other, but neither of them fired. "We are humans," Park said. His voice was rough, tired, but steady. "We come from a planet called Earth. It tried to kill us for millions of years. We survived. Your people should be dead, all of you. I saw the wounds, I saw the blood. No species can fight like that." "You are right, no species can fight like that." Park smiled, and it was a terrible thing to see. "No species except us." His mind was racing. He thought about everything he had seen today. The soldier who ignored a shoulder wound. The one who fought with broken bones. The one who killed an elite guard with his bare hands. The way they moved together, protected each other, refused to leave anyone behind. It was not natural. It was not normal. It was terrifying. "Your adrenaline," said slowly. "The chemical your scientists talked about, it makes you into monsters." "Monsters?" Park shook his head. "No, it makes us into survivors. There is a difference." "You feel no pain. You feel no fear. How is that not monstrous?" "We feel pain," Park said quietly. "We feel it later when the fighting is done. We feel fear too at the beginning. But our bodies learned a long time ago that pain and fear are not useful in a fight, so they turn them off. They give us everything we have, every drop of strength, every spark of will, and they say, 'Survive now, suffer later.'" He took another step forward. His finger tightened on his trigger, but he did not fire. "You wanted to cleanse us," Park continued. "You thought we were animals beneath your notice, weak creatures from a backwater world. You were wrong." Sergeant moved to Park's side, her weapon raised. Her face was gray with pain and exhaustion, but her eyes were sharp. "Your soldiers are dead," she said flatly. "Your elite guard is dead. You are alone. This is over." Looked at the 6 humans standing before him. Broken, bleeding, barely able to stay upright. By any logical measure, they should be the ones surrendering. They should be begging for their lives. Instead, they were standing here like conquerors. "The supremacy will hear of this," said, but his voice had no strength in it. "Others will come, more soldiers, more ships. We will." "You will do nothing," Park interrupted. "Because after today, the entire galaxy is going to know what happened here. They will know that 6 humans held off 50 soldiers. They will know that we do not surrender. They will know that we do not quit." He stepped closer, until he was almost close enough to touch. And they will know that if anyone ever tries to harm humanity again, we will come for them. Not as diplomats, not as friends, as the survivors of a death world, as the children of Earth, as the species that learned to turn fear into fuel and pain into power. His weapon fell from his trembling hands. "I surrender," he whispered. Park nodded slowly. "Smart choice." The supremacy collapsed within a month. Word spread through the galaxy like fire through dry grass. The story of Unity Bridge was told in every port, every station, every world that had ever heard of humanity. 6 wounded humans against 50 soldiers, against 12 elite guards, against a terrorist organization that had terrorized the galaxy for decades. 6 humans won. The coalition ambassadors returned to there with stories that sounded like legends. Dr. Lee's explanation of adrenaline became required reading in every xenobiology program. Scientists studied the recordings from Unity Bridge, trying to understand how biological creatures could do what the humans had done. They could not understand it, not really. Because understanding adrenaline was not the same as feeling it. Reading about human survival was not the same as living it. The galaxy could study humanity for 1,000 years and still never truly know what it felt like to be a child of Earth. 3 weeks after the attack, Captain Park stood before the Galactic Council. He was still recovering from his wounds. He walked with a cane now and probably always would, but he stood straight and his voice was clear. "Humanity comes to the galaxy in peace," he told the assembled representatives. "We want to trade. We want to learn. We want to share what we know and discover what we do not. We did not come here looking for enemies." He paused, letting the words settle. "But we want the galaxy to understand something. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every single day. We fought back. We survived. We thrived. And we did not do that by being gentle." His eyes moved across the room, looking at each alien delegate in turn. "We will never start a war, but we will finish every war that is started against us. We will protect our people, our allies, and anyone else who asks for our help. We will never surrender. We will never quit. And we will never, ever give up, no matter how bad things look." He smiled, and it was the same terrible smile he had shown Commander. "Because we are humans, and giving up is not in our blood." The galaxy had thought they understood warfare. They had thought they understood survival. They had thought they knew what sentient beings were capable of. They were wrong. They had never met a species that turned death into motivation. They had never seen creatures that ignored wounds that would kill anyone else. They had never witnessed the fury of beings who treated extinction as a personal challenge. They had never seen what adrenaline could do. Now they knew. And across 1,000 worlds, in 1,000 languages, beings of every shape and size learned a new lesson. Do not threaten humanity. Do not attack their friends. Do not make them fight for their survival. Because when humans fight for survival, they do not stop until the fight is won. And the fight is never over until they decide it is over. The galaxy remembered this lesson for a very long time. And humanity continued to walk among the stars, peaceful and friendly, and ready to help anyone who needed them. But they kept their weapons close, just in case. Because Earth had taught them well. And they never forgot where they came from.